midlife crisis. Is that a real thing?
It comes out and manifests itself in different ways.
You already thinking like this? Instagram post where you're talking about managing like your inner circle.
I'm at 40 people. It's all like the ones who are really there. Would any of these people answer the phone?
Like at that 20-year age mark, we just don't think about this.
Because you're still learning. You
Spend some extra money to make it easier to go through this.
I don't think typically money is an obstacle for someone who really wants to get coaching.
Michael, man, thanks for joining me today on the Kicking It with Keener podcast.
That's not me calling.
Dang iPad. All the devices these days, man. Shh.
I know. They can't get you on one, they get you on the other, right?
Yeah, they do a good job at it too. And it's unfortunate that it's actually my insurance company that's calling. I was involved in a small car accident this past weekend.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Both parties are good. Just a simple, I was like at a stop sign and it was actually a kid driving and he just backed right into my car and I laid on the horn and everything and he just backed into it. So my first time ever having to call the police and go through the police report and all that jazz and just a time suck.
Yeah, for sure.
But to set the stage, Michael, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit about like what the M Catalyst program entails.
Sure. No, hey, no, it's great to be here. And, I'm a fellow former Midwesterner myself, grew up in Illinois and, parents from Iowa and all that. So there you are in Michigan. So
yeah,
kind of speaking my language there. Anyway, listen, I've had a full career, mostly in sales and marketing related to technology and software companies, some consumer hardware. But, as I kind of move through, the cycles, I kind of think of things in 20-year cycles, right? I mean, whether you go to college or not, right? Maybe you go straight into working, but like, 22 to 42, 42 to 62, 62 to 82. And not that it's over after 82, but who knows, right? As I kind of got through the first two, cycles of thinking about, got into my 50s, right? I thought, there's what do I really want to do with this background I got that involves, helping other businesses grow their products and their brands. How can I work more directly with people, directly? And, one of the things that really, I was attracted to was this personal one-on-one coaching space. And there's a number of heavyweights out there that, Andy Elliott, gone to some of his stuff, Grant Cardone, there's Wes Watson. I mean, and they all have a different sort of persona. They all target, a different audience, but they all have something that they come in with, right? And they either come in with, hey, you want to stop drinking? That's Mark Jennison. I'm a comeback. Worked with him as well. Great program. He does other things too. You want to get in the best shape of your life, and then you want to get in to grow a personal brand or grow a business. Some people come at it to like, we're going to make you a great salesperson, a great car salesperson. So, I mean, that really intrigued me because it really involved a lot of the stuff I've done for companies and products like branding, really helping other people. And the whole notion of personal coaching and one-on-one coaching or group coaching in this context, right, is taking your life experience that you've had and helping other people apply that so they either don't make the same mistakes or they can accelerate, right, and go faster. Because, I may be able to say, hey, listen, in this moment, let's say somebody's thinking about the relationship and you're a guy. And the reason I say I target mostly men, there's a few women I work with, right, but mostly men who are 40 plus, is in that first tranche of life, right, 22 to 42. I mean, not saying that you couldn't need the help, but you're still norming and storming and forming and, you're out there learning and, doing all those things. And, some people are early achievers, like needing a divorce or they've ignored their families or things like that. Typically, gotten out of shape, ignored their bodies, stressed out, surrounding themselves with the wrong people, running in the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. Usually it takes a while to build that stuff up, right? And so as you get into your early to mid 40s, guys especially, don't want to really kind of examine what's going on. And they just either work faster, they work harder, they start developing some bad habits, bad hobbies. And, they kind of go off track. And so, the whole notion of personal coaching, what kind of led me to that is what I do today full time, is that, you're really able to help people. And whether that's in their relationships, whether that's getting a consistent daily routine down so they can stay focused and not get bored and then kind of, go off track, help them kind of reinvigorate themselves in their career, right? A lot of people, I'm not a career coach per se, right? I'm not there to write someone's LinkedIn and do their resume.
Right.
But guys who are, 40s, early 50s, even heading to 60, you'll get to a point where they're like, I'm kind of doing this job in my sleep. There's got to be something more. Have you ever been through anything like this? Or, I'm doing this job in my sleep. I'm throwing off enough cash. I would like to start something different. I want to be a personal coach. I want to, start a real estate place. I want to become a personal trainer. I want to fill in the blank. And that's really where people start to think about what their purpose is, right? Because maybe, I think your purpose changes over time.
I agree.
But in the beginning, maybe your purpose is you're working really hard to provide for your family. And later your purpose is something else. Again, right. As you move past 40 into your 50s, I'm not saying all that stuff's done, right? You can still have kids, you can still have family support, but you have some other options, right? And what are you going to do with your life? So that's what I do and how I got into it and why I'm attracted to that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm very curious about myself because I'm kind of getting to that level. I'm 30, so I'm 10 years away from your ideal demographic. But it sounds like, and just from like the people you work with and just from my own observance, is when you hit to that 40-year-old stage, it's kind of like life almost plateaus, it seems like.
Well, I mean, you're getting ready to, just like a company, kind of, if you think about corporate life cycles, I equate those same to personal life cycles, right? You're growing, right? Think, you're growing, get to 18, and whether you're going to go start working, you're going to go to college, you're still going up. You're going to go on to that next thing, right? And you got a little transition, right? You're restaging for your next level of growth, whether that's you're going 4 years of school, maybe you're going to go to way longer school. You're going to be a doctor, or, lawyer, something that requires more schooling. Maybe you're going to do a vocational trade. Maybe you're just going to start a business, right? Today, there's a lot of people skipping right over college and going straight into work because of AI and other things. They're like, wait, I can spend this much on college, or I can, by the time my buddy's done with college, I've already got $250,000 in the bank and a business going. So people can take any number of routes. But let's say you take a couple of years to get that going. You're restaging for your next level of growth. You're, like I say, you're sort of roughly early 20s, early 40s, right? And you're like rocket ship. You're either growing your business, you're learning, you're going to medical school, you're working in a company and you're getting promoted and you're changing jobs and you're having kids, you're doing all these things. And then, like you said, you kind of plateau. I mean, I say you kind of look up and you go, is there anything else going on? And maybe you're married. I'm not putting this on everybody, but I've, obviously in a much happier position, in my second marriage, but and you look up in your marriage and your first marriage, you go like, who are you? And why are you here? And, they're like, listen, stay on your side of the road. You go do this, this, and this. I do this, this, and this. Because you have your roles, right? It's really weird. People say they don't want to be old fashioned, but people fall into roles. And so you hit that early 40s. Some people hit it a little sooner. Some people hit it a little later. Talk about the midlife male crisis, right?
Right.
And women have them too. But they've got more of their friends and they've got more of a circle to talk to than guys do, right? Mm-hmm. And so traditionally. And so then you kind of look around and you go like, kind of bored. What happens when you're bored? You start doing stupid shit, especially if you're a guy. Through your whole life, it just the levels of stupidity increase because you could be bored, distracted, and now you've got some money. So that's why you'll see guys, and it depends on what their boredom is. So they could be like, they get really into golf. They're on golf trips all the time. They're gone all the time. Friday, Thursday night, we've got to be at the golf thing at the club or wherever they go. Saturdays all day, Sundays half a day. All of a sudden, their life is consumed with golf. That becomes their thing, not their family, that's their outlet. And there's nothing wrong with being an avid golfer, right? But there's a reason why all of a sudden somebody's really into golf when they haven't always been into golf, or they're really into working out, or they're always at the gym. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They got to go after work. Again, I'm all into fitness. I just passed the NASM certified personal trainer exam, right? To add that to the sort of stuff that I can do too as a workout interest. All I'm saying is, I'm not doing that to distraction of my job, detrimental job, my family, wife, kids, etc. So guys can do a lot of other stuff. They get into gambling, get into drugs, get into heavy drinking, 2 tequilas becomes 3 tequilas, becomes 4 tequilas every night, right? Because why? I mean, there's a reason. By the way, I love tequila. I love drinking that stuff, right? But even my wife would know. She's like, you hit a phase. You're like, every night you come in, first thing you go, how was your day? And you head over and you pour yourself a tequila. Doesn't mean you're an alcoholic, right? Or that you have to drink every day. It's an outlet. And why do you need an outlet? Probably because you're not in alignment somewhere else in your life. Wow. And when you get out of alignment in one or two spots, it bleeds over to everything else. It just does, right? If you think about it, I mean, you don't have to be in your 40s to know that if you're having a bad time in one part of your life, it's a stressor you're going to bring with you into some other part of your life that could be going really great.
Wow. No, I totally agree. You said a few things that I want to get into, but the first one you said was the midlife crisis. Is that a real thing, or is that just something we put on ourselves?
No, I think that's a real thing. I think it comes out and manifests itself in different ways for men. And it can be at different times. I mean, it's not really midlife. It's not like back in the 50s and 60s and early 70s on TV. Bob's having a midlife crisis. Oh, Jane, my God. Don't worry, Jane. He'll get over it. That's just, there's so much more access to everything, right? I mean, drinking and drugs, porn, escorts. I mean, online AI, models. I mean, I'm not, sports, betting remotely. I mean, these are like all like vices, right? But I'm saying, you can have a midlife crisis without doing those things. Like I said, you could just spend 30 hours a week golfing, right? But it means you're taking yourself away from the things that are giving you stress or that are not fulfilled. They're not filling your bucket up, right? And there's nothing wrong with golfing. I think some guys will watch and be like, what's wrong with this guy in golfing? I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have to have a few people I know who, they're great golfers, but they do that for a reason because they talk about it. Like, I mean, in my first marriage, I traveled a lot for work, and people would say like and at the time I was funny, and later I look back like they were really observing something. They say like, how do you guys do that when you're gone Monday mornings at 5 a.m, you come back Thursday nights or Friday afternoons? I go, ha, 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 that's how we stay married. And when I really look back on it, because I'm not saying she was a terrible person. I'm just saying that was not a good situation for me. So instead of facing up to it and saying, I think, we need to have a chat, which is got its own set of things when you have a kid and everything else. it wasn't conscious about it. I was like, I think I'm just going to like work other places and take myself out of that situation. Now I would rationalize that to myself, like, which is all true. I can make way more money, way more stock options, way more career potential. It's for the family. I can live in a bigger house, drive better cars and all that. But really, it will give me the fulfillment at work that I did. And all of a sudden, my kind of family and friends became all surrounding around work. And it's sort of like you lived for the week, right? Versus guys who lived for the weekend. You lived for the week. And that's not to say I had a really bad scene, but at the end of the day, that's eventually going to show up somewhere. If you get married young in your 20s, right? It's going to show up in your 40s. At some point, you're going to say like, this is screwed up. Like, why am I traveling away every week for a house I don't get to live in, a cars I don't drive, a kid I don't see, and all the way on and on. Mm-hmm. And guys then all of a sudden start to take that out on the other people. Right? And really, it's all them. And so what we do in coaching is help people uncover what their true drivers are. It's not therapy, right? So then guys, I've done some therapy, right? I think it's really great. A lot of guys shy away from therapy. Why? Because then all of a sudden they got to answer a lot of questions about that. The wife, if they're married or they're significant other, goes, what's this charge on here for like, Dr. Noah? Who's Dr. Noah? Right. My therapist. Why are you going to therapy? Do you have a problem with me? Do we have a problem? And guys are like, no. I work with some guys, and there's one woman actually who did the discovery call. She's based in Miami. Started talking about her anger issues and stuff. And I said, hey, listen, I can't help you with that. You really need to see a therapist. So, I don't try to be a therapist, right? I don't try to be, somebody who's doing I think you need specialists. But what I can help people to is maybe to get to a point where they say, hey, I probably should continue on now with a therapist on this piece of this. But what we do is, and I call this the 10-day journal play. And I find it really helpful. So this is a little free tip for anybody who's watching this. It's something they could try. And it seems a little awkward at first, but you can do it all by yourself. You can do it when you're driving your car. You can just pull into your work parking lot, sit in the car for a few minutes. Don't park where somebody drives up to you like, this guy is like talking to himself in his car. He's crazy. You can do it at the gym on the treadmill. That's where I do it in the mornings, 5 o'clock in the morning. Get a journal app. There's a free one on your iPhone. I have an iPhone. I'm sure there's on Android. You don't even have to type it if you don't want to. You could just record into it and it types it out. And just talk every day to journal for a couple minutes. After a while, you might want to do it for 5 or 10 minutes about things that are on your mind. What's going well? And you can be specific. What's going well at work? What's going well at home? What's going well with your wife or significant other? What's going on with your husband, right? What's going on with your kids? What's going on with your friends? Or, what's going on at whatever. And then, what am I behind on? What am I worried about? It's just to you, right? It's almost like a little personal therapy with yourself. What I always say is for mindset work, you got to get it out of your head and onto the page or, into your journal. And through this process, and it sounds like stilted, what guys are going to find out is that they're going to start to uncover consistent themes every day, right? And then what you can do is you can either read through these or, and it takes about 10 days. The first couple of days, it's awkward and you're just talking about stupid shit. Probably like going to therapy. That my first 3 times I showed up with a list and the therapist like, you don't need to write a list down. We could just talk about whatever comes to mind. And over time, you're going to come to what it is that's on your mind. And eventually, you're going to come to the solution. So this 10-day journal play takes about 10 days. Ideally, typical programs I work are 6 weeks. And I think it's guys have short attention spans. No one wants to sign up for 3 months or 6 months or a year, right? They could re-sign up to work on something specific. The guys want to be action-oriented. 10 days, and then we take that and, I can show them, I do it together with them, on a screen share in one of our meetings. And we'll put it into AI with a couple of prompts, and it will actually identify for them without having to hand write it, right? Here are the top 5 things you say you want to work on. Here are the top 3 things you're worried about. And I give them other prompts, each day on a voice text. Hey, today, tomorrow, early morning, when you talk, in your journal, also answer these 3 questions, right? And you're going to start to see themes on things that guys, they're ignoring. They're dragging this forward every day. And then what we do is we identify we sort them out and we say, all right, for the rest of our time together, and give them a 90-day plan when they leave so they can continue on. I check in with them, to continue accountability.
Yeah.
Just check in on voice text and stuff. Is, there are certain things you can work on. They're going to make the other things easier, right? If you start with this, it's sort of like these are the building blocks. To clear these will make these other things easier. So we also do that, get that organized, the sequence. And then they just get into the routine. And I can tell you, 100%, anybody who's worked with me or worked on this stuff with other coaches will tell you that they were like, ugh, the journal. Oh. But they really find that to be one of the most helpful tools that they take forward with them because it's just for them and they can have a conversation with themselves. And if they identify something as a real blocker for them, that, they could always go to do therapy but most of the time when you get out of your head, that's a jumble and you can spiral and turn into bigger things than it really needs to be. Yeah. They find out that they can actually start to break these down into little rocks, and solve them.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. I'll have to try that tomorrow when I'm in the gym too. Cause I hear a lot of people talking about getting it out of your head and onto the piece of paper. There's just something about taking the time to write down. I think many people probably don't write as much today as they did back in the past. So I'm going to challenge myself to try that as well. When you are helping these people and people are going through this 10-day period, do you find that a mindset change or is it more like a habit forming change or is it like a little bit of both?
Well, it's 2, right? So, it's a great question. So let me answer 2 things. I want to just back on one thing is about time, right? And I kind of talk about everybody that does coaching or, mentorship. has, different things. They've got the 7 things, the 6 things. I kind of break mine down to the core 10, right? I talk about the core 10 a lot. And you're not always going to focus on every single one of these items in all the key domains of your life. But one of them is around time control, right? Like, how do you direct your time and spend your time on things that make the most difference towards your goals versus just being whipsawed into, like, my calendar's so busy. Oh, my boss put all these on. Trust me, man. We also talk about tips. I will go through people's calendar with them. Right? And it's not like people sign NDAs, right? So they want to sign a non-disclosure because they're showing me work stuff. And I'm like, I'll sign that, right? You have the other attorney. I have one I can give them, they can sign. They can give me one to sign. So it can be open, right? It's like going, again, it's not therapy, but it's like going to therapy. Like, if you're not going to tell the truth to your therapist or divulge everything, then, like, you're not going to get all out of it. So the same with working with a coach. So we'll sit down on a screen share and look at their calendar. I'm like, well, what's that meeting? Well, I got to go to this meeting. Well, do you? How many people are at this meeting? 32 people. Are you running the meeting? No. How many other people from your group are there? 6. Why do you need to go? Well, my boss thinks I need to go. Well, we identify ways they can get out of those meetings, right? There's all sorts of little excuses you can make, et cetera. And all of a sudden you free up time on your calendar. The other part is, how do you make your time work 3 or 4 times as hard? So how do you turn half an hour on the treadmill? Let's say at the gym, you do 20 minutes of you're doing other stuff. You're not just doing the treadmill. You do 20 minutes of an incline treadmill. So you're not pounding along at, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour, but but you can still do stuff.
Yeah.
What a great time to spend 6, 7, 8 minutes doing your journal. You could read a couple pages to expand your mind around mindset, around motivation, around something you're trying to master, right? You could look at your goals for the week. You have them written down there on your phone. You say, how am I doing this week? I want to get critical these 5 things done. It's Wednesday. Am I making any progress on these? Why not? That's back to your time control. Well, let myself get sucked into this meeting. Can you clear stuff on your calendar, make up some excuses, get out of stuff to spend time to get those done? That's going to make you feel better, confidence. You're not just helping your company if you work for a company, right? But you're helping yourself on your personal goals. By the way, if you feel good about yourself, you're going to do a better job at your company. And then the last piece is you could write, which I always recommend, 2 to 3 gratitude notes a day to people who are helping you or, important in your life. You could write a note to your kids. You could send a note to your wife or husband. You could do one to, hey, boss, man, thanks for all this stuff you helped me the other week on this thing. I just want you to appreciate you. People don't thank you that much because you're the boss. Whoever it is, right? Your sister, your brother, your friend, your buddy. But you can, in that 20 minutes, you can make that work like an hour, because while you're getting warmed up and you're doing your incline treadmill walk, journal, read, goals, gratitude, part of your daily routine is already done. Now you move on to weightlifting, you move on to flexibility training, you move on to plyometric training, whatever. You're going to go do your spin class, whatever you're going to do, you got it done, right? So I think people need to also look for ways, that, for example, at work, you want to go out, you got to have a meeting, unless even in New York City you could do it, right? You say to somebody, listen, would you mind doing this next meeting as a walk and talk? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, instead of us sitting down in the conference room, let's just go for a walk. Now you got a 30-minute walk. You got sunshine, vitamin D, fresh air, moved your body, got your blood flowing. You've had your meeting. You've connected in a different way with somebody. You come back to the office, how are you going to feel?
Great.
You're going to feel great. You're going to be like, I'm ready for the next one. Let's get on Zoom. Let's go. People are like, what's happened to that guy? He's in meetings all day. So anyway, back to your question. So it becomes a habit, but it's a habit around mindset, right? It's a habit around it's another tool you can use to continue to cultivate a positive mindset. Because if you drag around all this stuff that's swirling in your head all the time, it just sucks your energy down, right? And you got to try to figure out a way to keep your energy tanks, mental, just, physical. Is like, it's like you eat during the day, right? So shouldn't you do some stuff during the day, first thing in the morning, mid-morning, at lunch, et cetera, for your mind, for your body, keep the tanks full, right? I think a lot of people are like 2 o'clock, like, man, I'm like whipped. Oh, what a day. Oh, what a day. Because all they've done is they sitting there all day. Well, did you eat? Oh, yeah, I ate. Yeah, I shoved a sandwich in my mouth like at 12:30 while I was on a call, right? And you're like, well, no wonder you get out of work and you feel like shit, you're exhausted. You don't have any gas in your tank to go to the gym. Or you go to the gym because you don't want to go home. And, or you go to the gym, you come home, you're like, I'm dead. And you're married, your husband or wife's like, hey, thanks for those leftovers. You're like, you have nothing in the tank for me. But if you keep that tank full all day versus letting it run all the way down, right? You're going to end up at the key points in your day, your key interactions, having a much more positive mindset, showing up better for the people you work with, for your friends and your family. And you're going to be, a lot of that's about keeping that commitment to yourself. But to me, it all starts with that early morning kind of journal reading, gratitude, and checking your goals.
Yeah, that's great. I'm actually I'm gonna try that because I've attempted to actually have my little journal right here, and I've attempted to go through and do something similar to that, but I wasn't time stacking it on other activity that I was already doing. I was like blocking time out of it, which then led to me. My last entry was in February, so
Right.
I think if anybody listening to like do those time stacking while you're in the gym or on your commute, I think is a good
Yeah.
tip.
Yeah. And I think people need to give it a try on their phone, right? And even if you bring your tablet along, you're trying to talk into your tablet, get your thing. It's like, you got to make it, you got to remove obstacles, right? I mean, if you ever read Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club, it's a lot of the same stuff, right? I love that book. The Wealth Money Can't Buy, another Robin Sharma book. I'm not here for Kicking It with Keener book club, but those are two great books for people. But in there, he's like, like anybody would say, like, if you have trouble getting to the gym first thing in the morning, as an example, why? Let's talk about those roadblocks. It's the other thing a coach can do, right? You may say to your wife, well, I can't get up because you're a lazy ass. That's couples, right? It's like, how about some support? Where I'd be like, hey, listen, how, and the guys could be the same thing to their wife. Is it because you like to sleep? It's like, well, why don't you be more supportive? Why don't you have some tips, So it's like, well, listen, what stands in the way? Oh, I got to get up. I got to get all of your stuff together so you've got nothing to think about in the morning. Your clothes are right at the side of the bed. Or if you got to creep out of the bedroom because you don't wake somebody up out of the bedroom, clothes are right there. Clothes, your phone, if it's plugged in or wherever your phone is, your keys, if you're taking a bottle to mix a shake, whatever, it's all there that night, right? It's all your socks, all of it, right? And you literally get up and you can be out of the house like in 3 minutes, or down to your basement or into your garage, or out into the street if you're going to go for a walk. Whatever it is, you're out. You take away any, I usually go in the kitchen and make a cup of coffee. What can you have besides coffee? Because I make the cup of coffee and next thing you know, I'm looking at my phone and I got work and I see these emails that need to be answered. And I'm like, let me get into the emails. It's like, next thing you know, it's 6:15. It's too late. I don't have time to work out. I got to get ready. I got to help get the kids out.
Right.
So it's like, you got to remove those obstacles. So I think, again, an obstacle, writing is great, like, physically writing in a book, but that's another thing you got to drag along. You can't really write in a book that easily on a treadmill, or while you're walking on the street, you end up getting run over by a car, right? So the more that you can do that just integrated with something's in your hand, you can password protect them. Nobody's going to get to them. Nobody can read them. It's actually more, if you want to record things you're worried about, it's even more secure than like writing in a book, because the book's laying around, like, where did that journal book go? It's like, your wife or husband finds it and they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm pissing you off? I don't understand. What do you mean? What do you need to, we need to work more on this. You're just trying to you haven't even processed through the solution or your own actions, what you can do. So it gives you an opportunity, right? To get it out of your head and leave it there and revisit it the next day, right? So you can compartmentalize that by getting out of your head. You feel like, well, I don't solve that yet, but you know what? I know there's 2 things I keep talking about every day in this journal. I'm going to just sit down. I got to move those forward. And then you work on that. So anyway, just something for people to try.
Yeah, that's great. And I do something similar. I forgot where I heard it from, but it was like removing the friction to doing these tasks. So even little things, I keep my toothpaste and my toothbrush on the thing just because at nighttime, I don't want to go through it to the cabinets. I'm just removing the friction. I try to, not instill that into my wife, but help her understand that sometimes she'll look around and she'll see oh, the house is messy. I'm like, I'm just removing the friction, baby.
That's right.
My shoes stay by the door because I'm out the door at 6 a.m. in the morning, She's like, oh, put them away in the cabinet underneath the thing. I'm like, that's going to cause more friction, and it could lead to it, like you said, a barrier to actually doing the task or the activity.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing, is the more in anything, right, that you can you can streamline,
Yeah.
even though it does look sometimes a little messy, stuff piled up. I'm sitting here at a table, the corner edge of the table always has all my stuff ready to go.
Right.
Headphones, you're looking around, where are my headphones? Get to the gym, you're like, oh man, I left my, the AirPod Max at home. Oh. So
Yeah. Were you always like had this type of mindset? Like, say, I know you broke it down like the life was like in years of 20. From that 8 or 0 to 22 years old, let's say, like, were you already thinking like this, or did you
no,
type of
no. I
change?
mean, I wish I would have, had, and that's back to, wish I would have had somebody, in my circle who would have gone through some of this stuff, right? And I just never did. A lot of guys don't, right? That's why I kind of, you think about the coaching space today. You have business mentors and business coaches, like the companies. You can either hire yourself or companies will pay for it. But typically, they're only working on that part of you that shows up at work versus the part of you that shows up everywhere. And a lot of these habits and Tracy and I are talking about, right, helps you across every domain of your life. It's not just, oh, wow, he's got a really positive mindset. That's going to help you at work, right? Because you're going to be able to be a better problem solver. You're going to show up as a more positive leader, a positive colleague, for people. So no, I didn't. I mean, I think if I would have, I don't know, for example, that some of my personal life things that the outcomes would have been different, but I think they would have been smoother, right? And they would have happened sooner if I would have had somebody I could talk to. Because here's another thing that guys struggle with. I've got a really good friend I've known for like 40 years who lives in Italy. I met him as an exchange student when he was in the U.S. way back in high school. We've stayed friends all this time. One of the things we've talked about in the past is it's hard for guys to make really deep friends. A deep friend, the older you get, you can meet somebody at the gym or whatever. But like like a really strong friend, where I think women can meet people more easily.
Yeah.
Right. Have a bigger circle and people that know different things. Right. So it's like they're not all the same. It's like I have this group of friends and I've got this group of friends that do these things, and it's probably more well rounded, I think. But typically guys, they don't have a lot of friends. The friends they have are often associated with work. So you're not going to tell somebody, no matter how much close you feel you are, you're not going to tell these guys a lot of stuff because you work with them. And it doesn't matter if people are going to tell you. I'm not going to tell anybody. People are full of shit. Hey, I know I said I wouldn't say anything, but man, Noel's really struggling. Like, he hates his wife. I mean, they can't get along. She's on him about his shoes. No, I'm just kidding. But you can't. You just can't, right? And you can make some pretty good friends with the husbands or boyfriends of your wife or girlfriend. You can't tell them, hey, I got this problem. Like, I'm really worried about this. Like, what should I do? Or, hey, I think I need to go do this. Like, have you ever done that? Yes. So one is, who can you confide in and keep it there? Certainly therapy is one thing, but a lot of guys, people in general, right? It's getting better and better, feel weird about it, or, and then, they're worried that the people in their life are going to find out about it. Like, well, why? If they're not supportive of it, like, why would you need therapy? I thought you were really happy. So that's not everybody. That's a concern. Some guys say, like, yeah, I really probably should go to therapy, but I don't want anybody to know, right? It's like going to AA, right? A lot of people should probably go to AA, but they don't because they're embarrassed and they don't want their work to find out or see somebody that they know, even though they should go, right? So that might, so what are other programs for them? But anyway, the long and short of it is, the other thing is, besides who can a guy talk to, guys want to try to solve stuff themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And you only know what you know. So that's a problem. And then finally, if they do have somebody they can confide in, has that person ever been in the situation they're in? Or even if, let's say it's not negative, it's more like they want somebody supportive about, like, hey, I've got this idea for this business I want to start. And yes, it's risky. I'm going to need to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to do it on the side while I still make money at my core job. But if you talk to your buddy, talk to your wife or husband, if they've never done that, what kind of, they mean well, but what kind of advice can they really give you? Exactly. You need to go find someone who's already done that. Now, you could look on LinkedIn, but you kind of get what you pay for, or you can find a coach and engage them, right? And ask them, have them give you examples of whatever it is you need to do. So if somebody wanted to, so, I've started businesses and helped companies go public, et cetera. But somebody came to me and said, hey, listen, you look like you've had a lot of business success. I want to start a gym. And would you work with me for 4 to 6 weeks to help me put together? I'd be like, I've never started a gym. I'm not the guy to talk to for that.
Mm.
So you need to go find somebody who does coaching, right? Let's use old Google and AI, right? ChatGPT. Find somebody who does online coaching to help people. Like their thing would be, I help fitness trainers, concept, business plan, and raise funds to start their gym to accelerate, whatever. There are people who will do that. Go hire them. And I think, I think that's the nice thing about coaching. It doesn't have to be a one size fits all thing. Right. So anyway, that's a long answer to, coaching is really good for guys, especially because it solves a lot of those problems the guys have. And again, it's something that guys are very action oriented. Typically the coaching piece of it, to get you in alignment around your kind of 10 key areas of life, have an action plan against the couple you really need to move forward, get into the right habits. It's like 6 to 8 weeks, right? I mean, because at that point you may say, okay, now that I'm really into the right mode, I want to work on this thing. And it's probably like, let me help you find a coach or a mentor or a business advisor for that specific thing you want to work on. And that will be, that we'll do that at the end of our engagement. And I send them off, onto the next thing. I mean, so I kind of look at what I do as sort of, I kind of call it, it's not a new term, but like sunset coaching, right? It's not a forever thing. It's not working with somebody for 6 months or a year. I've had you re-engage with people because they come back to you with like, I've got these 3 things I really want to work on for 6 weeks because guys want outcomes. And so, instead of trying to boil the ocean, let's work on everything for 6 months. It's like, let's work for 45 to 60 days tops. And then you go off you have a 90-day plan further. You go off and work that plan. And if you feel you need to come back. But, it's not supposed to be a forever thing. It's supposed to be, let's pause, get you realigned, and off you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen, it kind of goes hand in hand. I was looking at one of your Instagram posts where you're talking about managing like your inner circle. It's like the people that you take advice from and you connect with on a daily basis. That has been a huge game changer for me personally. But for your demographic of men at the age 40 and up, do you notice that like circle is getting smaller? Is that typically that's like a good thing, right? What do you like? Because I'm maybe in the category of like the circle could be too small. Like, do you see guys that like are on the one spectrum end of the spectrum and then on the other? And like, where is that happy medium of like, I know there's no perfect answer to it, but your inner circle should, like you said, consist of like maybe some mentors. Obviously your partner, your wife, spouse is in the center of that circle, like you said in the Instagram post. But
Right.
can you just talk a little bit more about like how to build like that right inner circle that's for you? And again, it's not one shoe fits all, but just from your experience working with these guys.
Yeah. It's not a one size fits all. And that's something we talk about, I mean, that's why I kind of break out in the core 10, your spouse or your partner, who's the one, from your family and friendships, right? Who are the circle, right? Because your spouse is in the center of the circle with you. Your kids aren't even in there, right? You're these you guys, or and then if you have one, right? And then the next part is, would be your family, right? Whether it's your kids, your parents, an aunt or uncle, but it's not everybody in the family. It's not like, hey, I've got big giant family with 40 people. It's all 40. No, it's like the ones who are really there, who you can talk to, who cheer you on, who can be a sounding board, et cetera, and be supportive. I like to say, like, if you run into a jam, you had to call somebody and say, hey, I need $10,000. Would any of these people answer the phone? Because,
I'm going to do that.
That was that test, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try that out on some of my inner circle friends just to see, like,
I'm telling you, they're not good. The answer is going to be, unfortunately, even with some family, probably zero.
Yeah.
And it's okay. But like, you know, you really ought to be honest with yourself about where people sit. And then I think as you broaden out that circle, it's your friends, and it's great to have a lot of friends, right? And the younger you are, the more friends you have. But what and then it's your business associates or mentors or, people who are advisors. But guys, it does get, either it's already small and it might have to get smaller before it gets bigger in terms of the circle of people around them. I think, where guys, and it's not just me talking from personal experience, but where guys run themselves off the road into a ditch in their life, it's letting the wrong people get around them. I mean, that's like the age old story, I mean, I'm not in a gang. It's like, oh, what happened? Well, I got involved with a gang and I couldn't get out. I was around the wrong element. Next to you. I mean, any story, any movie that you want to, it's like the people don't, either they go down the wrong path, they make a wrong turn in their life, or they're not fulfilling their true potential. They're frustrated because they're not. They got their head out of whack on who's really important, and they're spending time, back to time. They're spending time on the wrong things, right? It could be, in my case, like getting jobs out of town and working out of town versus saying like, I need to, like, if I can't get the kind of job I want in town, then maybe I need to start something to stay. Like, because if you really, if you really want to have great personal relationships, close relationships, like you can't be gone all the time. It just, I don't care what anybody tells you, that's not going to work. Going to work for a short time, maybe. That can't be why. So, anyways, the answer to your question is, guy circles are typically smaller and could get even smaller if they're really, really honest about who should be in there. And then it's on them to say, based on identifying, what their true purpose is and where they want to head, who do they need to add to that circle, right, to advise them. And that's back to, could be somebody in their network that just does it for free. It could be they're going to hire a business advisor. It's like, for example, if somebody's wants to start a small business and they're going to apply for SBA funding, Small Business Administration, and grants, they could do it themselves, but like, you could go a lot faster if you hire somebody who specializes in helping entrepreneurs, qualify for and close in record number of days. They get all the shortcuts, to get an SBA loan. Or like, my dad is 90 years old, right? So a few years ago, we worked on, 10 years ago when it was more, it's estate planning, but also, getting him in line for the right Medicaid and other stuff he ever needs it. So far, he hasn't needed it. But we hired an attorney who specialized in elder care, not just a general attorney do it well. Elder care, knows every single thing you need to do to qualify to get on the right kind of aid list if you ever need home care or whatever, and how you prepare for that. We never would have figured that out. The forms you got to fill out, just send him all those things. You send them back. My dad signed them. So, I mean, the point is, like, for anything in life, there is somebody, whether it's online or in person, who can help you radically accelerate towards your goal. And that's so part of like the coaching I do is helping people get to, like, what is that purpose? What is that thing? Let me just give you one other example. So, another great guy who I worked with, wanted to change jobs, but wanted more flexibility, had 5 different entrepreneurial things and started and LLC set up in corporate, trying to move them all forward at once. And I kind of, as we went through this whole process, kind of the protocols that, I kind of follow, would take people through, kind of narrowed down as like, okay, first and foremost, you need to line up a new gig because the one you've got's ending like in 45 to 60 days. It's a contract, right?
Yeah.
And of your other 5 things, focus just on this one because it's close to getting out there. It can drive revenue and more money to you faster. That will fuel your investment in these others. So we focused in there, and he landed the new deal. He moved to a much better place, much better city to live in. It's easier access to his kids. He's making more money. He's got more flexibility, and he launched his one business. Right now, could he done it all on his own? Yeah, but what he said he was struggling with was like, focus. I've got all these different things. How am I going to focus? Because at some point you're looking at all this stuff and you're burned out. And all that then affects the rest of your life. It's like, well, where you're living. Well, I can't really see my kids that much because it's, you know, the flights are hellish expensive. And he was kind of living in a very remote location at this big industrial project he was on. So wouldn't that be one of your criteria when you're looking for your full-time gig, to be in a major market with a major airport,
Right.
with like multiple flights a day to where you need to go? And guess that's what you end up with. So anyway, just give you a few examples. You know, getting clear on what your real goal is half the battle, right? And then aligning, having the right daily routine and habits, like, you know what your goal is. If somebody says, hey, I want to get a new job, you go, okay, how did you spend your time last week? How much time did you spend sending out resumes, networking on LinkedIn, connecting with 5 new people? And they go like, well, I only had half an hour because I was really busy. Well, then you're never going to get a new job. All right, if that's a goal. Where's the time on the calendar? And it's just common sense, right? But sometimes we all as humans get so wrapped up in our day to day, it's hard to like look up. And so this helps people sort of look up.
Yeah. No, very, very well said. And just out of curiosity, what does your inner circle look like, from like being like an expert in my eyes, like a guy that has seen some success? Like, what does that circle look like for you?
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, my wife's right at the center, and, you know, my son's in the next one. And then, you know, just a handful of people, you know, and I engage different advisors, you know, on the various coaching things I'm doing, or other businesses. But, you know, that's it. I mean, and extended families, you know, not to get into too much detail, but is not in the second or third ring. They're a little further out just because of different circumstances. But I mean, everybody's going to be different, right? Doesn't mean I love them any less. It just means in terms of, you know, who's really got the influence on me, and the kind of influence and access. I think that's the thing that you got to be careful about, you know, influence and access, right? If your inner circle too close to you, right, are buddies who like to go drinking and like to not this bad, but like whatever the habits and hobbies are, those could be incompatible with growing in your job because you're hungover every day, or, you know, having a great relationship with your spouse because you're out all the time. And, you know, it's people I think really underestimate, even if they're with somebody who's got very good like lifestyle habits, they could have views on something that influence you, and all of a sudden those kind of become your views, and those become sort of diametrically opposed to like other people in your circle who should be even more important to you. Don't mean you have to have the same views as your spouse or partner, but I'm just saying, like, it becomes a tension, right? I mean, it's different for everybody, but, you know, that's something we look at is that I didn't realize this either until, you know, the last 10 years, right? Like how much influence just by being around you, right? So it's like, you know, you can't give everybody an all access pass.
Right. Yeah. Too much access sometimes can be the opposite of good. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes, and just not to get too much into personal either, but even with my my wife's families, like, we moved to the city where they're all at, so it's like, oh, they expect to have all of this access, but at the same time, kind of like what you said, like, too much access could have too much influence and on mindset and all those things. So I think that's one good thing that people can take away, is like limiting your access to certain people that are in your circle, I guess you could say.
Right. I mean, you know, again, there's probably a good analogy, right? That, you know, you can have people in the circle. Again, doesn't mean you like them less or love them less, but like how much time you spend with them, right? Don't we all have that friend who's like, they're good to see like twice a year, but like anymore it's the same stories, it's the same routine, they got the same complaints, it's the same shtick. And I've got a friend like that, known for a long time. It's the same shtick. Love the guy, right? And it's fun to get together, but like twice a year is probably good. I like to feel like I don't have the same exact shtick every time, but maybe Tim, I do. I don't know, but like, you know, there's other people who I can see every day or every week,
Right.
because you know they're in a dynamic situation. They're growing. I'm learning stuff from them. We enjoy each other's company. And so I think it's just varying levels, you know, whether it's family or friends or colleagues, you know, varying levels of access, right? There's the people that you love to go out to dinner with or have a drink with every now and then. There's people you'd love to see as much as you can. It just really depends.
And like how you mentioned earlier, I wish that I knew this stuff and was more curious about this stuff at a younger age. Is I know we keep on hitting on like 40 because that's the ideal people that you work with. But how do I phrase this? Or I'm trying to think of like what am I trying to say? Why is it you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but why is it when you get to that midlife stage, like half of the ball game, 40 years old, why does it become such like a thought in the forefront of our mind? Like why, you're again, it's not like you're the freaking doctor, the know-it-all, but just
Right.
out of your opinion, why is it like at that 20-year age mark, we just don't think about this shit?
Well, I mean, because you're still learning. You got, I don't
And
know.
you
I mean,
see people,
I think when I'm in my, what, go ahead. Sorry, you say?
no, and then you see like, at least online, like you see people like, wow, like that kid is thinking like how I think now. I'm sure there's somebody that thinks like you in their 20. It's like,
Oh, of
damn,
course.
how
Of course. You know why? You know why they are? Because of the people
environment.
that are around. Yes, the people are around them, right? And they just were lucky that their parents do this sort of thing, or were into this sort of stuff, or a family friend, or they did an internship somewhere, for the work for the summer, and they're around somebody who really talked about these things and they got interested. Maybe they gave them a book.
That makes
I
sense.
mean, let me give you an example, right? So, Andy Elliott, right? Don't know if you follow Andy Elliott, right? I mean, the Elliott group, I mean, really a juggernaut, right? So guess what? He's got 3 kids. I don't know exactly how they can't be, definitely not. One's not driving. 15 and below. I don't know how they are, right? But younger, a boy and 2 girls. I guarantee you, they think about all this stuff. Why? That's what their parents do for a living to help other people do it, right? So, okay, like, our son will think more about this because I'm doing this stuff, but not as much as his kids will think about it, right? So, that's why somebody who's 25, who's, talks about this stuff, lives this stuff, consumes this type of stuff, could they've stumbled over it on Instagram? Oh, maybe,
Right.
maybe, but, or TikTok or whatever, but more likely somebody who was influential in their circle, right? Or who had access to them said, hey, you want to come to this? Got a free ticket to go to this Grant Cardone conference. I got a free ticket, an extra ticket to go to see Tony Robbins. I mean, I don't know, right? And it maybe speaks to them. They're like, wow, it's like somebody who like really gets big into fitness and they're a big fitness influencer. And what happens? Like, well, I was, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you read his book, right, or watched him, it was the people he was around.
Yeah.
And then it really spoke to him as something that he was able to use to focus, as he was growing up in a spot he knew he wanted to get out of, right, in Austria, right? So to do bigger things. So I think and then you get used to that. You're like, well, wait, I want to go from doing this to something else. You just become second nature. Like, I'm going to go find somebody who's already done this and done it bigger than I'm even thinking, because if I have to pay them, I'm going to pay them, because not everybody free mentors, right? Get what you pay for. Sometimes you luck out. Some people spend a lot of time with you, but most people are like, hey man, I'm working and I got other shit to do. Like, I'll talk to you once or twice, but talk to you once a week for an hour.
Yeah.
Go pay somebody, right? But they know like it's worth it, right? And they will pay to get into the right rooms with the right, the right people who already know what they're doing, so they can go faster. And I think that's anything, right? I mean, that's anything in life. Like, hey, I want to learn how to swim. You can learn on your own, and you can watch YouTube videos, or we get you a swimming coach, and I bet you'll swim a lot faster.
Yeah. So
right now, do you need the swimming coach forever? No, but we can get you a swimming coach for like 10 weeks this summer, and you're going to be an amazing swimmer, because they're going to work with you 3 times a week, and just going to focus one-on-one swimming coach. Or, dad here will throw you in the pool and do the best. Like, dad, I swim like shit. Yeah, because dad swims like shit, right? So I mean, people they never blink in their eyes. Like, so what do you pay for those ballet classes and tap lessons? A lot. Okay. But for you, who's 42 years old, you can't find the money to go hire somebody to help you learn this, because that's going to help you 3x your income. And as you 3x your income, you're going to be doing something that turns you on and gets you excited, and it fulfills a lifelong dream. All right, I don't know, it's a lot of money. Well, isn't it a lot of money for the ballet classes,
right?
For your kid, or for the soccer coach, or for the piano lessons?
Yeah, why not
right?
have it for other areas in your life? That makes sense.
So it's funny how we forget that, right? As parents, even, right? You kids, like, you spend all the money on it, but then for yourself, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can spend money on that. I'll figure out how to lift those weights myself, and you're like hurting yourself, and like, versus like, hey, maybe I should get a trainer for like a couple of months, learn how to do this stuff, write stuff down, pay attention, and then work out on my own for a while. And then when I feel like right. So, if you don't want to hire somebody all the time. So being this one-on-one coaching we're talking about is the same way. I talk about it's like a 6-week thing, right? You don't need coaching all the time, right? You need it in bursts, right? And sometimes you're going to need different people on the different paths along the way.
As much as I love doing these podcasts virtually, I much rather sit down and talk to somebody one-on-one in person. I can look at them, I can feel the energy that they're giving off, and it's just a better vibe. So if you know anybody that would be interested or that would be a good guest for the podcast show, please get us in contact, put us together, or just relay them my information. I would love to sit down and talk to them. And with that, I will continue to do my best to improve my podcasting skills and my interviewing skills to one day bring on bigger guests that you would love to see me collab with.
Damn. The way you just framed that and broke that down literally resonated with me so good that, like, it makes sense. That's what people need to do. That's what I need to do. And the way, like, just the way you framed it is like, it's not a forever thing. It's just for little spurts of time. You learn what you need to learn, get out there and put it into action.
Yeah.
Circle back to learn more if you need more help.
That's right. And again, don't try to get somebody who's a one size fits all, right? Because look, I can do a lot of things. I've got a lot of experience, but I mean, there's a limit to that, right? Because there's certain things people are going to need. I mean, like, for example, not to take something that's, it's not a negative, but let's say, you're having a relationship problem. It's one of the things you're working on. You're like, hey, I want to go faster at work, but I'm having trouble doing that because of this. And this is this thing I'm worried about. And you break it down. So I could talk to somebody about, like, well, here are the things you got to think about before you just go plowing ahead on going down divorce road. Right? Not making any judgment about whether those two people should be together or not. But these are things as a man that you need to be thinking about in terms of, what are the laws in your state? How long do you have to pay? What's it going to do? Et cetera. We probably should think about your kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, at some point, they need to go see an attorney, and they need to go see a family therapist, or they need to whatever, right? So point is, like, you can also help people get their thoughts together about things that, pitfalls that, I didn't actually think about, that would have made things a lot better and more smooth. But then it gets to a point, it's like, I'm not the guy to help you with that, right? You got to go with a specialist in that. It's the same thing in business. It would be the same thing with piano lessons. Just back to the thing, I played piano as a kid. You have a piano teacher that can get you so far, and then you're going to have to change piano teachers.
Right. You level up. You're going to continue to level up, just like everything in life.
Yeah. So doesn't mean, and it's hard. People are like, oh, I don't know. I love it. Same with working out. At some point, you got to get a different trainer, because it's just the same thing. You can get comfortable with each other. The next thing you know, you're 10 years in and you're doing the same freaking routine.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, well, I can't fire them because they still work here, and then I see them. Like, so now some trainers evolve. It'll change your program. It's all different, and some don't, right? It's just like, it's their routine. If they say the same thing, my wife and I had a trainer. We laugh about it. It was cute, right? It was like, said, I won't even say the things in case this guy ever watches this. He knows which one I'm talking about. But we don't work with that guy anymore. But, like, he's a really sweet guy. But, like, it just became rote. It was just the same thing. We would literally be doing that same routine with just maybe a little heavier weights. That's it. Like, versus, somebody we work with now, right, changes the program every 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And
right.
But it's a different level and different type of training. But anyway, you can use any analogy or example that you want. But there's a right tool for every job. There's a one-on-one, coach like I do, or mentor.
Yeah.
for different jobs or different phases that you're going through, right? So you got to be, I think people, it's out there. You have to be willing to invest to go faster and like make less mistakes. By that, you can go faster towards your goal. And B, you know, they need to be willing to do that work. And then, you know, if you go to the next phase, perhaps you need to move on to somebody else to help you go faster through that phase. Same like growing a company. There's people who are specialists in helping you get off the ground from 0 to 10 million, but they're not that's what they specialize in: 0 to 10 million, 0 to 10 million, 0 to 10 million. They're through it, they do it. That's how they do it. There's other people, they're the specialists help you go from 100 million to 500 million, right? Two totally different things.
Right. Two different people for two different outcomes.
Yeah, sure. Or different companies or whoever you're working with. So I think it's also being conscious of the fact, not feeling comfortable that you may need to let somebody go, but like stop working with somebody and move on to the next person who's where you want to go. Because that person got you there, but they've never gone there. Right?
Damn. Yeah, no, that's good. And you mentioned the word invest, because like this takes investment. I would imagine that your demographic with gentlemen, men 40 and over, have seen, they've had some business success or some career success to where they have these funds to invest. Do you find that somebody that has like, not maybe like not rich or wealthy, but they're well off, they're not worried about their next bill or they're living paycheck to paycheck. Do you think that that person has the ability to change faster than somebody that's like, trying to still make ends meet? Does like having some extra money leave and make it easier to go through these changes?
Well, I mean, I think it's like anything in life, right? And I'm not saying, this one-on-one coaching is like being a doctor, because it's not. Doctors, are working with inside your body or your brain or whatever they're doing, right? So, but, there's a doctor or a specialist, there's ranges of it, right? So, hey, this heart surgeon charges X, this one
I see,
charges less. Or, therapists, there's therapists. You can go to therapy for $50, you can go to therapy for $500, right? And so, I don't think typically money is an obstacle for someone who really wants to get coaching. Now there's certain coaches who aren't going to charge you $10,000 for 3 months working together, are not going to do it for $500.
Right.
But I mean, you got to do your research. But I would say there's nearly a coach for everyone. And there's also group coaching to get started, right? So there's people that do group coaching that's a couple $100, and it's like $250 for 3 months or something, right? I mean, again, somebody goes like, I only have $40, then that's probably going to be free content where you got to like find the right coaches, like my Instagram, my website, people's YouTube, and you start searching that. Again, I know I talk a lot about Andy Elliott, but I just think, he's a great leader in the space on how to do this, right? He's got tons of content on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
That you can Google and get in there and, and start that way, or to get involved, right? They also do events with tickets for $99. They do tickets for $9,000, same event, right? Depends on the access, back to all access, how much time you get with him or the team, not just where you sit in the seats, right? Yeah. So I think, people shouldn't let money be an obstacle. I think they're like, oh, I can never afford that, right? But I think you got to be also honest with yourself. Somebody charges 10 grand, isn't going to do it for $50. And likewise, just you wouldn't want them to, right? Because you're not going to get how much time do they spend with you, right? But there's a ton of free content online too that people can consume to get themselves to the next spot, and they're making some more money, and they can. I think that's the thing is, if somebody's at a baseline, like they can only afford to spend $100, okay, then how can you spend that in a way that will help you make $500? And once you make $500, go spend that, give your $100 back to yourself. Go, what can you buy for $400 that can help you make $1,200? All of this stuff's got to get connected to profit at some point.
Right.
Right. Now, there's sometimes a period of time, where you're going to invest, like in growing a business or whatever, invest in yourself, where you're not going to see immediate return. But you shouldn't be spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and seeing nothing back. I mean, the strategies, tips, and tactics that habits that people are helping you with should get connected to profit. So I talk about, like eventually you have to identify what your true purpose is and then have a path to profit. Right? Like if your true purpose is, I want to start a business that does X and Y and helps people do Z. Okay. That's out here. You're working in this job here. You got to do some things to get this ready before you could either raise money or you got to help self-fund it. Then all of your time you're putting in, right, that you ought to be directed at that, not this. And any money you're going to spend to somebody to help you, needs to help you advance you on this goal. So maybe you can't afford more general coaching. You need to get somebody like back to the Small Business Association loan application specialist, and they're like, and all right, they're going to charge me $1,000. So I need $1,000. Let me figure out how I can go make an extra $1,000 because that person is going to help me go from here, all the way here so fast, which is heading towards your goal, which fulfills your true purpose. So it's getting clear on how you're investing your time and your focus, because it's so easy for all of us to get thrown off track. Or, I get calls, and I do calls with people to learn, right? But I can help you do organic social media. Okay, I already do that. Yeah, but we can do this. We're going to get you 300 followers a month. Okay, but I have followers. I've got 16,000 followers in the last 30 days. So for free. So
right. Where's the value?
Are those 300 leads? Are they men over 40 who are making, people don't make this much of this program, but if I really want to make, have people that want, have tons of gobs of cash. So making a yes decision was super easy from a money point of view. Okay. Do they all make 250,000 plus? Why would I pay you to do organic social media when I'm generating organic social media? So I think I'm just saying there are all sorts of people out there. I think the other thing people have to be careful of, not just with online coaching, but anything online, not to get scammed, right? Is not to have people get distracted. And even you get scammed, and let's say they really delivered 300 new highly qualified followers a month who could become leads. Okay. I know what they're going to charge. It's a lot per lead, but is that the best way for me to spend my money? Or could I spend that money having somebody do more social media, more filming and production, right? To help me generate 24,000 followers in 30 days.
Right.
Of the right targets. I'm trying to say so again, it's back to being really clear on what your objective and your purpose is, whether it's the example I just gave for myself or whether it's hiring somebody to be a coach. What do you want to achieve, right?
Yeah.
If you want to hire a personal trainer, but you're 100 pounds overweight, maybe you need a dietitian to work on your nutrition habits, because really the bulk of it's all nutrition anyway. And maybe you need both, right? But maybe you need to spend that money there to get into the better habit on a nutrition. I don't know. I'm just saying what is your real goal?
Yeah, damn. And it goes back to the framing, the way that you frame, literally just the way you frame it, I guess, because we're all always in our own heads and we're learning from the same people, or watch the same people all the time. So talking to somebody like you that's new, we've never met before, and hearing the way that you think about these things literally just reframes it in my head. And I hope anybody listening to this does the same thing for them too.
Right.
And not to give too much away on your coaching aspect, but that finding the purpose, how does somebody find purpose? Is it?
Well, again, your purpose is going to change, it's going to evolve as you move through life, right? So through those phases of your life. And I don't mean it only changes every 20 years, but it's not going to change every day. Then that's not really a purpose. That's probably more of an objective or a focus area you have right now, that you're doing to get to your purpose. So a big way that we kind of get to people's purpose is through the journaling, right? Because as they're talking about things and there's different prompts, and people journal for longer than 10 days. So let's say the typical program is 6 weeks, is 45 days. And I do programs that are 12 weeks, so 3 months. A few people have re-upped, but I don't do 6 months, but you'll see people online, like it's this much per month, this much for 3 months, this much for this month, this for 12 months. I don't want anybody to sign up for 12 months. How would they even know, and then you get 3 or 4 months into it, like, I don't know if this is working, this is for me.
Right.
I think 6 weeks is enough time to get somebody started down the path. Like I said, they leave with a 90-day plan for the next 90 days. And we stay in touch on voice, text, etc. They'll always jump on a phone call or whatever. And through that process, they typically make a lot of progress. But back to the purpose, you don't just journal 10 days, but that gets us started. You journal the whole 45 days. But through the journaling, we really start to uncover what people really are interested in and why. I was working with a guy, talked about this on Instagram a little bit, working with a guy who got laid off, was in residential construction, project management, was trying to get another job just like that, banging heads against the walls, like mid to late 40s. Didn't want to leave the city he lives in because, he has shared custody with his kid. And, so like traveling away during the week somewhere else wasn't going to work. And, his ultimate goal is to start a nonprofit to use his construction, project management, and actual real construction know-how to help the community, like rehab homes and help people. So you got that. That's what he really wants to do. How are you going to get there? There's no money. So one of the things, and you need to be, your objectives, like from back to your domains of your life, co-parent, et cetera. All right. So now you know what you're working with. So kind of through that whole process of working it through it, right? Like, you got to open your aperture. Like, what are other things you could do? Like, stay in the community. Oh, there's also a certain amount of money he needed to make. So make that amount or more, right? So you'd have some money then to heading toward creating this nonprofit of community service to fills his soul up and his energy and all that, right? So we identified, there's like law enforcement, there's municipal, like the city, county, and state government, all sorts of jobs. Started applying for jobs, paying what he wanted to make, plus with overtime, he can make like another 20 to 25% over what he even thought he needed. So there's money you're throwing off now. You can actually invest in your long-term purpose. But we got to that through, besides conversations, through journaling, right? Through the journal prompts, right? Now, therapy could get you there too, probably, but over like, I don't know, 3 months of however much per session for an hour a week as you talk about different things and how it's affecting your personal life. When you're worried about work, you're worried about getting money, you're running out of money because you don't have a job. So it's something wrong with therapy. I'm saying, like, for him, it's, I just feel like some of this is like more basic. And then through that, like you're saying, well, I'm having trouble coping, co-parenting, then you might go get a therapist who specializes in healthy co-parenting relationships. So again, the right resource for the right job, right? And again, it was like setting up a nonprofit, and it wouldn't be me, right? That's why it's a short 6-week thing. Then you go hire somebody when you have the money, right, to help you set the nonprofit because they specialize in it, right? So again, I think it's getting the right thing. So back to like, how do you find your purpose? Part of that is having somebody help guide you, right, through that process. And it doesn't just have to be me. There's a number of people that can help you, with that, because there's a lot of things that go with that, right? Well, you say that's your purpose. All right. So to do that, you're going to need to be able to amass this amount of money, or you're going to need to have this kind of flexibility. How will you do that if you're on this traveling job, or, and by the way, if you got this job, this guy could have gotten a job like out of town somewhere, been gone, Monday, come back Friday, probably made double what he needed. But then you're not being a co-parent. And that was really important. And you'd be out of alignment there, right? So so I say you got to look at all this stuff in its totality, right? And the core 10, because we're probably just about out of time, but the core 10, just, for me, are your faith and beliefs, right? Sometimes it's faith in yourself. It's not faith in God. Sometimes you feel like they don't believe in God, right? But it's like, what is this higher power, or like higher energy, or faith and beliefs? It's your mindset, and it's your time control. So I kind of put your faith, your mindset, and your time. Those are the only 3 things you can really control. Now, obviously, you can control your actions, right? Well, your actions are guided by your thoughts, by where you're spending your time. So you control those 3. Those become the base, right? Then I think you get a kind of a consistent daily routine. For me, the next thing is, Is your daily routine around that? Journaling, reading, goals, and gratitude. You do it 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes while you're doing something else. Your fitness, your health, right? Because, what good are you going to be to your kids, your friends, your wife, your husband, your job, if your purpose if you're sick, you have a heart attack, stroke, you're overweight, right? You then get down on yourself, you don't have the energy to do this stuff, and it's right. So, and I say fitness and health separately, because you can be really fit but not be healthy. Like David Letterman was really healthy guy, ate healthy, and was a runner, and went in years ago, just regular checkup. They're like, you're having open heart surgery immediately.
Yeah, it's not.
No idea that he had the clog in the one artery. This is the widowmaker, they call it, right? So you can be super fit, but also have cancer. Now, we don't control cancer, do we? Right? But we can control all the other things to give yourself the best optimum health. Like I say in a lot of my content, right? Guys especially spend more time taking care of their cars on the inside and out than they do on themselves. Got to get that car. What do you do tomorrow? I'm going to be late for work. I get the oil changed. I'm doing a tune-up. Going to rotate the tires, balance the tires. How much time are you spending there? Oh, probably all morning. By the time I get there, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do a couple meetings in the lounge, have some coffee. I don't want to get a loaner. I mean, right? I mean, can you hear this? You can just hear this, right? It's like, wow. Shoot. And then what do you do this weekend? I got to wash the car. I'm getting it detailed next week. Oh yeah. Well, I just had this extra. These guys make this chip. They replace the computer. It takes the governor off the car. Now the car top speed's 165 miles an hour. What would that cost you? Well, it's like $2,800, but like, it's cool. All right. Like, what are you doing for yourself? Did you have like the scan that can show whether you have any narrowing of your arteries? You're like 48. No, that costs money. That's not covered by insurance. Interesting. So I look at fitness and health as two different things. You gotta, your core 10, right? Your one, right? Who your one person is, your spouse or significant other, your family, your friendships, that's your circle, right? And then your truth and purpose. That doesn't mean you have to go through all those things before you get to what's your truth, what you believe, and what's your purpose. No, but you can say, here's my purpose. But if all the rest of the stuff's out of whack, like you're never going to get there. And I think then you got to be able to connect your purpose to profit, right? So whether that's your career, whether that's company ownership, you got to connect your purpose to profit. And you can do that as a W-2 employee, right? Or, a 1099 contractor versus, owning your own business, or you could have a side hustle. But, where you want to go with the profit piece is going to be fueled by how much energy you have, how positive are you? Are you in balance at home, like in your relationships, right? Are you keeping the commitments to yourself? It's important to you to journal every day, because if you're not keeping those commitments to yourself, how are you going to keep the other commitments to yourself when stuff gets hard, right? So I think the last thing I just want to kind of say on that is, I know I got it wrong for a couple decades, and that is, guys especially, and we're hardwired in society, right? The way we're raised, right? Focus on the profit piece. Our son's looking at colleges, right? People say, oh, what do you want to do? Oh, are you make any money with that? My dad, right, would be like, oh, that's great, I got a promotion. What does that pay? Right?
Yeah.
Always focus on the money. I know I can get a job down the street, but this one over here that's 2 hours away on a plane, pays X percent more. Instead of focusing on all the other stuff, profit's important. Profit, wealth creation, your paycheck, right? It's all important. And I totally got this ass backwards nearly my entire life, right? Is if more people, we're encouraging our son for the same thing, would focus on all those other pieces of their domains, the profit will come. It's so true, right? Amazing chefs, that are out there. They've got big giant restaurant empires and cookbooks and cooking shows and all that. I guarantee you didn't start out when they were young saying, I want to own a highly profitable restaurant. They just love to cook. They just want to cook. And they said their family saying, like, I don't know how it's going to pay. Because if you're not a really good chef, maybe like a line cook somewhere, you're getting hourly wage working at the diner or something. I don't know. It's a lot of time standing on your feet, right? So back to having the right people around you. I'm not saying you divorce your family. Maybe there was a family friend who was in the business who loved it, who was passionate about it, right? So back to like identifying people you can talk to. But at the end of the day, it's that passion and you're really good at it. Guess what? Whatever the money is, it's going to be enough.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your purpose. You're connected to profit. So too many of us, including myself, started out with the profit piece. I started out thinking to be a school teacher, and I kind of looked at it and said, like, this is never going to make enough money. So I didn't do it. And what am I doing now with kind of one-on-one coaching? Right. It's like sharing your experience so that others can benefit from that and go faster, avoid some of the same mistakes that I've made. So potentially earlier in life, if I hadn't had people around me who are so focused on, well, what's that going to pay? Right. I guess you're going to have to like paint houses in the summer to make ends meet. Right. It's going to depend on the partner you choose, right? Because, if you choose a partner who's really focused on you having a lot of money and driving fancy cars and living in big houses and having expensive hobbies, then guess what? That's going to be the path you're down. That may not be really lined up with your soul and your purpose because you started out more fixated on how much money you're going to make. And so what I try to help guys do, because that's kind of harder once you're in your 40s and 50s, you already built all this stuff up, is how can they start to make that shift in a way that makes sense and get reconnected or get connected to what they really will light them up, knowing that there might be a path to get there, that you can't just do it overnight, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you're a multi-gazillionaire, you just go like, I'm going to like sell off all these companies. I'm going to start this, right? Most people don't have that flexibility, but they've got enough flexibility and enough stuff they've learned through the years that they can then move toward that goal in a way that they get there as most expeditiously as possible by changing some of their other habits, in their life.
Damn. That was very well said, man. You really summed it up. It's like a little masterclass that you're giving us. I know you got to run here shortly, but no, I appreciate all the like the tangible. I love your style because you're not gatekeeping any of the information because for one, the information is out there. Anybody can go.
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously you're in the coaching space. It's like some people will give off the information like, oh, you need to sign up for my program before I tell you all these things. Or
right.
You're a very open guy because the information is out there. You just have to go find it. So I appreciate you for being so deep and explain it to me.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, right? I'm trying to do more and more of this stuff because over time, again, I mean, this is not I'm not doing this I'm doing this full time, but it's not like I have to do this right or we don't eat type of thing, right? So, what I'm really trying to do is build trust. And, over time there are people that say, I mean, I work with people now and they're like, hey, look, I know I can get all this stuff for free eventually just by watching your videos and watching podcasts you're on or those type of things. But I really want to work on these three things and I'm willing to spend some money to get there a lot faster than watching 1 minute. So, I mean, you're right. There are a lot of people who will give out this much, but like you really got to pay to get all the sauce.
Yeah.
And I kind of do it the other way. I try to give out the sauce and just be very transparent and open. And, that's for some people. Other people want to be screamed at or they want to be, belittled or they want to be yelled, like told they're a loser. No, he doesn't scream. I'm thinking of another coach who screams at people and tells them they're fat and stupid unless they get on the program. But to be nameless. But no, Andy Elliott's very, I think, very uplifting. I mean, I think he's got really great content. Again, I referenced him like 5 or 6 times in this because I think that guy has really cracked the code on how you build a following, or how you deliver value. Right. Listen, I've been to his stuff. If people want to go on YouTube and take the time, right, and watch Andy Elliott's videos, it's like going to his events. Nice. Now, you're not going to get it in a compressed time frame like you can at the event. You're not going to also get a lot of the other surround that goes with that, and to be in the room with other people trying to do what you're doing, and people who've already done what you're doing. And remember, his events have multiple speakers, but he's giving out a lot of free information that you can use right away,
right,
in detail.
Yeah. And if anybody doesn't know who he is, check him out. Cause this story is very similar to like Michael's ideal client. Is he was focused on business. And then one day he looked up and like his kids didn't even like recognize who he was anymore. So that's when he made that
He didn't
transition.
recognize himself, right? Of course. No, I mean, he's very inspirational. So I think he's a good model, for what I'm trying to do in terms of, like just be yourself and add a lot of value, provide a lot of value, help people, right? Because it's a real joy to like get to help people, see people, say to you, I'm so glad I listened to you. What a difference. And then you can see my son right there in the corner in my fake backdrop. He's
What's up, buddy?
trying to cheese in here to the podcast. So anyway, it's great being on here. It was great talking to you today. Hope we could do something like this again. And really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. I would love to circle back and to see where things are in the future. Yeah, thanks for giving us the information. Thanks for talking to the audience, and keep doing your thing, man. I think there's more people need to be like you out there. I see like my ideal type of content and the direction I want to go in like the kind of style you're doing. 'Cause I like the motivational type, like the inspirational, like kind of reframe and better people. So it was nice getting to connect with you, and I'm going to keep following your page. Everybody go follow Michael. He does good content. Last thing, I know you got to run. When you first got into the content thing, because, being an older gentleman, how did you no, don't take that wrong. Because, being on social media, it's like, the young kids, the 15, 16, 18-year-olds. So when you see somebody that's, damn, I'm going to ruin this again, above 40, getting into the content, and you do a good job. Like you're posting, you're active. How did you, I work with people that are like, I work with a lady that just took on an onboarding call. She wants to do social media, but she doesn't want to have her face on the internet. So
that's
like
hard.
For you getting into it, was it like a big jump, or were you just like, fuck it, let's just do this?
Yeah, I never posted anything online. I had an account, like just watch stuff until last September. So, yeah. So, again, what I did was I talked to a lot of people, over a period of like 2.5, 3 months, and, watched a lot of other coaches, like what kind of content would I want to do, kind of what, not saying copy the style, but like good reference brands. Yeah. So it was like, you want to look like this, you want to look like that. And I hired 2 guys. So I hired a guy to help create the first website and shoot the first batch of content and get all that, work together. And I hired another guy, Wade Houston, who's another great guy. Follow Wade Houston if you're thinking about being a coach. He's another one. He's based in Miami on a 6-month program. He was fantastic. Like, how do you set up a coaching business? And you would get the voice. He's very fast to respond, just like me. Get the voice text back like, "Hey man, hey G, that's great, but like you're not getting to it fast enough. Don't pause at the beginning. Don't lead into like, hey guys, hope your day's going great." Now, I still do it a little bit because it depends on the post. Most of it's like get right into it, right? Like first 3 seconds, like all the stuff, systems to use, how to set them up, how to structure your program. So what I do, I went and got a coach for coaches, right? For 6 months. I would say that he probably shared the bulk of what you need to do, like in, the first week, really. I mean, but like was there to like talk to and kind of watch his style, et cetera. And it was very, very, very helpful. So, and it's also not like Andy Elliott prices. So, I mean, like it's the thing, you got to find somebody who, works for you. Some people need that because they don't know how to do any of it, right? I was in marketing sales my whole career. So while I hadn't been doing that for my own self or online, right, I understood a lot of the fundamentals. So, I could kind of go faster. And then like anything else, it's just reps. You gotta put in the reps.
Yeah.
Just every day, gotta put in the reps. Even if you feel stupid, talking to your phone, or the lighting's not right, or you just gotta do it, right? It just feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't have very many people. I mean, I follow some people, I had some few people. It was more just like an account, so I could watch other social media. I deleted everybody out and set, so it's like private before I made it like, a business account, and just posted my first like dozen. So no one can see them but me.
Mm-hmm. That's
on Instagram, just so because I was like freaked out. I'm like, these are terrible, writing the captions and like, doing CapCut, later doing CapCut and then leaving the CapCut logo on at the end, for you to take that off, I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
Now they figured that out. Now they got a watermark because like everybody's deleting our cap cut at the end. The black screen. So it's like anything. You just got to be willing to do it, and you got to do the reps. It's whether it's social media or starting a new business or wanting to go do improv somewhere. I mean, you have to put yourself out there and be willing to like not listen to people who aren't supporters. Back to the circle. Only have people in your circle who are going to lift you up. Not the people who say that looks stupid, man. Then you're not in the circle anymore. You're out.
Damn. That's great, bro. Very, very well said. And again, thank you. I've noticed as these conversations go on, my brain just fires off with all these different things. So we could probably sit here and talk for another hour and a half easily. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. We'll talk to you soon.